Hello and welcome to another A Star to G briefing. Today just going to talk about a very simple thing which is batteries. And the reason why I want to talk about batteries today is because we've been using this little device quite a lot. I've mentioned it before. This is the Tascam audio recorder. There are many types of audio recorders, stereo audio recorder available out there, and a lot of teachers are using them. I'm seeing them in many classrooms at the moment, and they are brilliant for gathering evidence and for recording performances and recording learners talk and recite and read. They're really wonderful devices. But I had a couple of nightmares with them this last couple of weeks, and my daughter, who's been doing some work with it as well, also had an incredible nightmare situation with it. And when we investigated it, it was the batteries. And if you have a look in the back of this, the reason why my daughter was having the problem, it's got ordinary alkaline IKEA batteries in the back of it. And I want to explain that a little bit and try and tell you why that's not a good thing, and to point out some of the other batteries and the other ways that you can use these kind of pieces of equipment in the classroom without having battery nightmares happen to you. So let's have a look at some batteries and see if we can try and figure out the different types of batteries and which ones you should use when. Now, I'm sure that you, like me, collect loads and loads of batteries whenever you see them, and I'm sure that IKEA, buying these 10 IKEA batteries is something that you do quite regularly. I do. Whenever I go, I always manage to pick up at least a couple of boxes of these. They're incredibly good value for a simple little disposable battery. Of course, disposable batteries itself, though, is of course a bad thing. These are pollutants. They are things that we've got to try and move our lives away from. We shouldn't be using batteries as much as we possibly can, and we need to move to rechargeable. Now, that's fantastic. What happened in the classroom the other day was the batteries that I was using inside my tape recorder, the rechargeable ones, went flat, and I turned around to the class and said, has anybody got any more? And nobody in the class had got AA batteries. All their mobile phones, all of their MP3 players, all of the games players that they'd got with them had all got rechargeable cell batteries in, which were not AA size, not these usual nice typical size batteries. And I think that's the case. Over the next few years, these are all going to disappear, and we are all going to be moving towards completely rechargeable batteries, and we'll stop using dry cell batteries completely. Probably a good thing. To avoid your players going flat, of course, keep batteries recharged and keep them with you all the time. So in my case, that I carry my Tascam around with me, is I do always carry a handful of fully charged, rechargeable batteries. And it doesn't last that long, the batteries in here. The batteries, when you use these on batteries, it only seems to last, because of the nature of the chemistry involved in these will only last 20 minutes or so before you need to replace the batteries. So you need to have a handful of batteries. Having these as a spare is probably the best thing to do, so that if you do get caught out like my daughter did, you've got some of these in your pocket, in your bag, in your toolkit, so that you can get yourself out of a tight corner. But do please try and keep your batteries charged up. Now, these batteries have come in different sizes. This one has got a designation written on the side of it of 2,400 milliamp hours. That's measurement is the amount of time that it will remain charged. The bigger that number, the better. So this is one of the newer ones. One of the old ones, I've got an old Jessops one from a few years ago now. This was top of the range when I bought it, and the where's the designation? 1,500. So that was great at the time. That was a really big advance in how long this battery would remain charged and remain usable. But it's not very good now when you compared with these other ones. These ones I got from Maplin, which are they're pretty good, decent kind of stuff. Of course, the other type of battery that you need to keep your eye open for is this one. This is lithium. Now, lithium, they are a lot more powerful. Although this is an AA battery, it's got a bit more oomph in it than 1.5 volts, and it's designed to give a bit more high power support to things like digital cameras and the like. It would be perfect for something that drains a lot of current like this tape recorder. So lithium batteries tend to be the ones that they say put in cameras and put in digital video recorders and equipment that requires quite a lot of drain and quite a lot of time, and where you can't afford to have the current disappear. So lithium is a good thing. Of course, lithium again is obviously something we have to be very careful with. It's something that's We need to dispose of properly, it's poisonous and so on and so forth. So we do need to look after it carefully. So this lithium battery was bought for a digital camera, and it is still working and providing enough to be used for a while yet. So lithium batteries, good things to have for your digital tape recorders. Alkaline batteries are the things we've got to try and wean our way off from, although you should buy some and keep them as a spare. Rechargeable batteries, use them all the time if you possibly can, and if you want to buy some, look for this size designation and get the biggest size you possibly can. The bigger the size, the longer the battery will go, and always keep 4 at least charged up as a spare in your case or in your bag, so that should something happen to your tape recorder, you've got some spares that you can quickly chuck in and survive the rest of the lesson. That's my tips on batteries anyway. Now, if you'd like to know more about the electronics involved in batteries, I'm going to point you over to the EEV blog by Dave Jones in Australia. He's an electronics engineer, and he does some superb stuff explaining electronic circuits and electronic characteristics, and has done some good stuff that explains using graphs how different batteries behave. And his post is always interesting for those interested in electronics, but actually he does quite a lot of stuff which is pretty much accessible to everybody. So Dave Jones's EEV blog, I'll put the address in the notes. The other thing to do is to try and use the power supply. Now, if you're using a microphone or a tape recorder, a recorder where you put the recorder underneath the learner's mouth, then you can't really plug that microphone into a power supply instantly. You haven't got the time and the cable length and all the rest of it to use the supplied power supply. The power supplies are obviously a really reliable form. You're going to get consistent recording, and if you're going to do lots of recording of GCSE performances and you're not moving around, do use the power supply. But if you haven't, then you are going to have to use the batteries and get used to the idea of having rechargeables and having 3 or 4 chargers plugged into the wall full of batteries charging all the time, so that you're never caught out until technology catches up and all our rechargers just plug into the wall overnight and are used and ready in the following morning. You try and always use the correct charger. Label them up with a labeler so that you know exactly which charger you use. Devices like that tape recorder should have a power regulator circuit in it, so that you can put varying, not necessarily exactly the right power supply in it, but you can't trust these things. And I think the best thing is to always just use the right charger with the right piece of equipment. If you do want to get to know these kind of diagrams, these kind of information, it's worth spending some time to try and figure out what all that means and understanding which chargers can be used with which pieces of equipment. That way you don't always have to get branded power supplies, which, this one, for example, big, chunky, horrible thing like this, costs quite a lot of money. $29 this cost me, just for one device, which I don't think I paid $29 for in the first place. But, if you don't want to have to pay branded prices, you can get cheaper versions, but you'll need to understand and make sure that you order exactly the right device using the specifications. And that's about it. All you need to know about batteries and power supplies, and hopefully in a few years' time all of this will be completely irrelevant. Anyway, thank you very much.